How many good boys are you deep today?
Oh, I started drinking at 9 this morning. Might be the 20th. I've slowed down.
Meet the athlete that started drinking at 8 years old, lost over $50 million gambling, and once died for 9 seconds for drinking too much. You'd think he'd be something out of a movie.
Welcome to the club.
And through all of this, he still won 2 major championships. Today, I'll give you 10 facts about John Daly you probably didn't know.
Where's the first tee and what's the course record?
Starting off with a 6-month suspension from the PGA Tour. While other players were getting their game ready for the FedEx Cup back in 2008, while John Daly was busy making headlines for what soon to be the most devastating moment of his career. Police found Daly passed out drunk outside of a Hooters in North Carolina. He was intoxicated beyond belief. The officers managed to pick him up, but he refused medical attention. So they had no other choice but to drag him down to the station, where he would spend the night in jail to sober up. Which gave us the most legendary yet depressing athlete mugshot of all time. And this story exploded across all headlines. By the next morning, it was everywhere. The PGA Tour suspended him for 6 months for conduct they deemed unprofessional and bringing unwelcome publicity to the tour. In other words, the tour didn't take it lightly, and neither did his sponsors. Daly later called this the lowest point of his 18-year-old career, because it cost him his full status and several high-paying endorsements.
But I did it. I'm capable of doing anything stupid.
But that was only one incident, because this wasn't the only time he made national headlines. Like the time he was caught casually hitting drives over an entire interstate. He cleared 6 lanes of rushing traffic and landed the ball perfectly on a high school football field on the other side. However, the Ohio Department of Transportation was fuming, reminding the public that there are no mulligans on the highway, basically calling John Daly out, saying that was incredibly stupid. And yes, he did get quite some backlash. But this wasn't his first time committing risky trick shots. In fact, he's been doing these for decades.
Getting through it and knocking it in. All right, I'll be in the car. Thank you.
Like driving a golf ball over Niagara Falls. In 2005, Daly decided he's going to be the first person to ever hit a golf ball across Niagara Falls. We're talking about a 360-yard carry from Canada into the United States.
I can't even see it.
For John, this is definitely possible. What he didn't take account for was the marine layer that was acting like a barricade. He was fighting a literal wall of mist that acts like a vacuum, killing the ball speed and making him fall short.
I can't hit any better than it.
John Daly can't do it. We'll declare that it cannot be done.
And 20 balls later, 0 made it across. It turns out you can clear a 6-lane highway with your shoes off, but Niagara Falls is still the only thing on earth that stands undefeated against John Daly.
They said they had to pump my stomach and all this, that I was out, that I was dead for over 9 seconds or something.
Not even the Grim Reaper could take down John Daly, because did you know that he once died? His lifestyle literally killed him.
You hate exercise, you despise health food, you smoke, you drink.
After years of heavy drinking, chain smoking, and having a poor diet, his health was at serious risk.
How many beers or how much liquor would you drink daily?
I don't know. I could drink probably a case to 35 beers easily in a day.
In a
40,
day? 35 or 40?
Easily in a day.
In 2009, after pushing it way too far with some whiskey, he collapsed and his heart stopped. For 9 terrifying seconds, John Daly was clinically dead. No heartbeat, no breathing, nothing. It was the ultimate wake-up call, and he tried to quit cold turkey, but his body rejected it. He was getting violent shakes and cold sweats right in the middle of tournaments. So how did the wildest man in sports cope? Well, he just replaced it. Non-stop Diet Cokes, packets of M&Ms, muffins, and entire cartons of cigarettes. He didn't fix the problem, he just swapped one addiction for another, but eventually went right back to drinking. I mean, of course he did. We're talking about the guy who beat Tiger Woods while severely hungover. The same guy with the longest disciplinary rap sheet in history of professional golf. And that's not an exaggeration. We have the evidence to prove it.
Because you're a major winner.
It's true. You are too.
Well, I got a great future behind me, kid.
In 2010, the PGA Tour was dragged into a massive lawsuit, and as part of the legal discovery process, a judge forced them to release John Daly's official disciplinary file. Now, for a normal golfer, a disciplinary file might be a few pages long, maybe a small fine for swearing on live television or getting frustrated and breaking a club. But John Daly's file was an unbelievable 456 pages long. It reads less like a sports document and more like a federal criminal record. It documented decades of him just being a complete an utter degenerate, especially under the eyes of the incredibly strict golfing establishment. We're talking about 5 separate, full-blown suspensions from the PGA Tour, 21 citations for failing to give best efforts, and another 11 citations strictly for poor behavior. He officially holds the longest disciplinary record in history of any sport.
What is it like being a rock star of golf?
I don't know if I'm a rock star of golf, but I like to have fun, and sometimes the tour gets mad at me, but when you have fun, rumors start spreading that aren't really true facts and stuff, but what can you do?
Now you might be asking yourself, where did this reckless behavior even come from? How does a professional athlete develop this kind of cutthroat, high-stakes mindset?
I fly this 236 yards when I'm drunk. Sober, it's about 220. So I'm drunk, so let's fly at 230. Let's do it.
Oh, be good.
Where'd that go?
Straight.
Is it right at
Well,
it?
you have to go back to his younger years, because 13-year-old John Daly was an absolute savage. While other kids his age were doing normal summer jobs, mowing lawns, delivering newspapers, or flipping burgers, John was busy sandbagging the local adults at his home course. He would show up looking like a harmless, chubby kid, hustle the other grown men into a match, and then completely empty their wallets. $5 turned to 10, 10 turned to 50, and before he was even out of high school, Daly was playing for $100 for a single hole. Now think about that for a second. A teenager in the 80s playing for $100 for every time he stepped on the tee box. When you're playing for that kind of money against grown men as a kid, the pressure of professional tournaments doesn't even faze you.
Woo-hoo! I didn't feel this good when I was drunk,
This summer, John funded a wild, unsupervised teenage lifestyle, but it also planted a very dangerous seed in his brain. It kickstarted a massive dopamine addiction to high-stakes gambling that would eventually spiral so far out of control it would cost him millions. But first, we have to talk about how he actually made it to the big leagues, because his path to the PGA Tour was anything but normal. By 1984, Daly was showing some serious talent, earning himself a spot on the University of Arkansas golf team. But there was one massive thing that was holding him back. John, he had an appetite. The man absolutely loved food. Specifically, he was obsessed with McDonald's. He was eating so much McDonald's that his weight was ballooning out of control. So bad that his college coach had to pull him aside to give him an ultimatum. Lose 60 pounds or you're not playing for the Razorbacks, period. To keep his spot on the team, Daly didn't start hitting the treadmill or eating salads. Instead, he started a liquid diet that honestly would put anyone else into an early grave. For 10 straight weeks, his daily intake consisted strictly of 3 things: a full 5th of Jack Daniel's whiskey, unlimited popcorn, and Diet Cokes. That's it. When he eventually went to his coach and complained that he was literally starving, his coach reportedly handed him a pack of cigarettes and said, "Just start smoking. It'll curb your appetite." And the absolute craziest part of the story is that the liquid diet actually worked. Daly shed off an astonishing 67 pounds in just 10 weeks. He secured his spot on the team, dominated, and eventually punched his ticket to the PGA Tour. But the rapid weight loss came with a heavy tax: 40 cigarette a day chain smoking habit and a fierce dependency on alcohol that would haunt his career and his personal life for the next 30 years.
When you drink 35 Miller Lights a day, why do you give a I mean, I'm not changing my game plan, baby. Hell no.
But he didn't just have an obsession with alcohol, he was also completely and utterly obsessed with taking risks. And that dangerous addiction to risk-taking led to the highest score ever recorded on a single hole in a professional golf tournament. At the Bay Hill Invitational in 1998, John was standing on the tee box facing the massive par 5 with the famous water hazard on hole 6. He decides to go for it and launches a drive directly at the green. Now keep in mind, everyone else is laying up on this hole. Going for the green is absolute madness, and unfortunately, he ends up just short. He proceeds to the drop zone where he pulls out his 3-wood, and he tried again, which also found the water. So he decides to do it again, and then again, and then again. He hits 6 consecutive golf balls into the lake. And he didn't stop because he got embarrassed. He only stopped because he looked into his bag and realized he had exactly 1 golf ball left. If he loses this last golf ball, he would instantly be disqualified from the entire tournament because he physically couldn't finish the hole. By the time he finally got the ball over the water and eventually finished the hole, he had to put down an 18 on the scorecard. Yes, an 18. It wasn't just a bad hole, it was the highest score in history of the PGA Tour. most golfers would be utterly humiliated and they would pack their bags and walk off the course. John, he walked to the next tee box, lit a cigarette, and casually birdied the very next hole like nothing ever happened. In fact, his ability to switch his mindset was exactly what allowed him to take down the greatest golfer of all time. People on the internet love to share the legendary myth that John beat Tiger Woods while severely hungover. But if you actually sit down and ask John about that day, he'll correct you and say, "I wasn't hungover. I was still drunk." It was the Target World Challenge, and Tiger Woods was at his absolute peak of his powers, doing what Tiger does best, spending hours grinding on the driving range, meticulously analyzing his swing, and hitting the gym. That night, Tiger showed up to the official sponsor dinner looking like James Bond in a perfectly tailored tuxedo, shaking hands and talking strategy. Daly stumbled into the exact same dinner completely barefoot, played a song on a borrowed acoustic guitar for the wealthy sponsors, and called it a night. The next morning, the two of them were officially paired together. Tiger went through his intense, hyper-focused, intimidating warm-up routine, while Daly, he ordered a fresh Jack and Coke right on the first tee box.
I want to know how you prepare for a golf tournament.
Well, I hit balls maybe 20 minutes, putt a little bit, smoke 4 or 5 cigarettes, drink 3 Diet Cokes, and go to the first tee. Some days I won't even go to the range.
Tiger watched in absolute disbelief as John casually stepped up to the ball, gripped it, and ripped it 300 yards down the middle of the fairway. John went out that day and shot a 65, and Tiger, well, he shot a 71. He beat the greatest player in history without even bothering to tie his shoes the night before. But if you truly want to understand the massive, incomprehensible scale of John Daly's reckless lifestyle, you have to zoom out. He tallied up his entire casino run from 1991 to 2007. When they finally calculated the bottom line, the final number shocked everyone. Daly estimated his career gambling losses at somewhere between $55 million and $57 million. How does a human being even lose that much money? Well, he was treating Las Vegas casinos like his personal living rooms. Daly admitted to go on massive multi-day benders, where the only time he ever left his seat was when to use the restroom. At his absolute peak, he would sit at a high-stakes blackjack table and play all 7 hands simultaneously, betting up to $15,000 per hand. It's a number so outrageously large, it's hard to even wrap your head around, especially when you consider that his actual PGA Tour earnings from winning tournaments were only around $10 million. That means his massive multi-million-dollar endorsement deals from companies like Reebok and Callaway were doing nothing but heavily fueling his casino habits. Yet in true unapologetic John Daly fashion, he simply shrugged it off, smiled, and gave the most John Daly answer possible. I should say I regret it, but I did it, I move on from it, and I had a lot of fun doing it.